Hey everyone, welcome to my new devlog. Every month I will be posting a video with all the fixes and new stuff that I've been working on for KOTOMASHO. If you're watching on Patreon, this video will be posted 1 week before YouTube, so if you haven't already, go over to patreon.com/wallgallen and support me over there to get exclusive access, behind the scenes, and cool rewards like digital downloads or even being part of the game. But anyways, let me stop stalling and let's start with the devlog. So the first thing that I wanted to focus on is the story part of the game. Now that the demo is done, I started to work on chapter 2. I have worked a little bit on the scenario planning of the chapter 2. I decided that I wanted to make it like a circus theme. I've started to think of what kinds of enemies would fit that theme as well, and which characters are gonna be appearing. For example, right now I decided that one of Yumeko's sisters will be featured on that chapter, so a little bit of a spoiler here. Yumeko will find one of her sisters finally. And speaking of the sisters, I finally chose a name for each of them. I will be showing the names right there. These are some names that I found fitting for each of them based on their magic power or their personality, so I hope you like them. Choosing names and overall character background is one of my favorite parts of writing. Other than that, I also did a little bit of planning for the overall map design. Right now I'm showing you the first draft of the map. Now, hopefully this will be the one I'm gonna go for, but you know, there's always unexpected stuff happening, so maybe this will be the one you play on, maybe it'll change. I decided to also divide the map with colors. Right now, as you can see, the green area is like the final stretch of chapter 1 that leads to chapter 2. So the green area of the map is chapter 2, of course. It's a bit of a linear map. It's gonna be like a decided route. It's not gonna be that open world, to be honest, but you will be able to go back and forth between areas and hopefully unlock some secrets and extra stuff. This month I also started working on the artwork for the eye catches. If you played the demo, you might have noticed that at the end of the prologue there was this little sequence of illustrations that I drew, like the typical anime transition when they go to commercials. That is called an eye catch, and I'm gonna be working on those for each chapter. I finally finished the one for this chapter, so here's a little bit of a teaser. Now let's start talking a little bit about the programming part of the devlog. This is gonna be the biggest part about this, since programming is probably one of the bigger parts of making a game. Art is probably the second one, but definitely programming takes most of the time, I will say. At least for KOTOMASHO that is the case. So I fixed a ton of stuff, I added some stuff. The first thing that I started working on was the recorder mechanic of the game. I already started working on this before the Kickstarter, so I had kind of like 33% done on this, but I finally fixed some stuff that was happening with this mechanic since I kinda rushed it before showing it on the Kickstarter. So there were some input detections that were missing, so sometimes you press the buttons and they weren't read right. I don't have an example of how this happened because now it's fixed, so I definitely can't reproduce it, and I for some reason didn't think of recording some of these bugs that happened, but thankfully now they're fixed. I'm just gonna talk about what happened, and hopefully I can express myself well enough for you to understand what happened before. Also, sometimes the notes that appeared on the recorder weren't right, and thankfully that was a very simple fix that is already repaired as well. And also, one other thing that happened with this mechanic was that some of the sounds were randomly cut. That was also a kind of easy fix, although it took me a little bit of time to find, but thankfully as well that is already repaired. And other than that, I worked for kind of like a week on the recording mechanic, since it was kinda complicated to program the overall, since it's not only the fact that I had to program the input detection and all the UI for the recorder, but also I had to work on the songs and the song detection, the events that happened if you play the right song. So it took me, like I said, a week or so, maybe 2 weeks. I worked on both the song detection and the event detection. So now I just need to tell the game which notes each song has, and the recorder will automatically detect if the song that you played is the right one. And after that, it will then detect which kind of event will be triggered. For example, I added the first song, which is the Song of Unlock, which you are watching right now. This song is very simple. It will unlock every single door that is close by. This is completely finished. Apparently there are no bugs on this. I tested it, and yeah, it works perfectly. But hopefully you enjoy this mechanic. I always love playing instruments in Zelda games, so hopefully you will enjoy this as much as I enjoyed just randomly playing the ocarina in Ocarina of Time, for example. Now, other than working on the recorder mechanic of the game, I also had a couple, or well, not a couple, but a few bugs that people found during the Kickstarter and the Steam Next Fest testing. There were like 5 of them that I couldn't work on during the whole month. So I started streaming as well. I started doing some game dev streams, which as of now there has only been one, but I promise that I will be doing more. And on that stream, I fixed, if I remember correctly, like 3 bugs, which took me a little bit more than I wanted, but even so, I still think it was a pretty fun experiment, because I never streamed game dev before, and even though the fixing stuff took me a lot more than I wanted to, I think it was a success, and I definitely think I will be doing more of these streams. Next time I'm planning on working a little bit more on the level design part of the game during the stream, so yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for the next streams. So some other bugs that I worked on off stream were some problem that I had with the dash mechanic. So sometimes when I dashed into a cutscene, the animation of Miyu, the protagonist, just got stuck on the running animation. And yeah, that was also a little bit more tricky than I thought it was gonna be to fix, but it's finally fixed. And then I had a bug that happened when I dashed on doors. So if I dashed and I triggered a door that took me to another level, I spawned out of bounds of the map for some reason. That was a little bit easier to find and to fix, and hopefully it is completely repaired right now. Now, the last fix that I wanted to highlight was this really weird collision bug that happened sometimes when you just walk into a weird part of a wall that didn't detect well the walking or the running mechanics. You could walk into the wall and get stuck forever. That is an issue with Unity's physics system if you don't set it up well. And unfortunately, I missed a very big important thing when I was making the physics setups when I started working on this. So that error happened a lot, and it happened to a couple of people that I noticed during testing. Even it happened to me like once or twice, and thankfully I finally found the problem and fixed it, and now it should be pretty much impossible to get stuck on walls. So if you get that bug, definitely let me know. There's also a couple more things that are not bugs per se, but were issues that people found annoying or that could be improved a lot. For example, the platforms, the moving platforms that appeared on the chapter 1 dungeons. Those platforms were too small and you couldn't dodge some of the enemy's attacks, and I decided to make those platforms bigger. Before, those were the size of Miyu, so they were 16 pixels by 16 pixels, and now I decided to make them twice as big, both wide wise and height wise. So now those are 32 pixels by 32 pixels. That way, hopefully, the player has a lot more room to dodge every single projectile that comes their way. And another slight mistake on my part, and something that a lot of players really noticed and found annoying or looked weird, was that some areas outside of the map in Dryo Town, the first town that appeared on the game, where some tiles were completely empty, so it looked like black squares were incomplete on the environment. And yeah, I to be honest, I don't know what I was thinking when I decided to make that. So I finally added some tiles over there, and now the map looks complete and looks like it is supposed to look. So yeah, that was something that was asked quite a lot, to be honest. And finally, another one of the things that I worked on was adding the controller settings on the main menu options. So for some reason, if you connected a controller and you went to the settings in the main menu of the game, you were shown the keyboard controllers. You were never shown the actual controller options, which I don't know how I didn't notice before, but thankfully I noticed during one stream. I think it was like I was either a Twitch stream or a YouTube stream that someone was doing, and I finally noticed, and I immediately fixed that. I think that was one of the first things that I fixed, and that was another very easy thing to fix that is hopefully finally repaired. Now, to finish with this, I worked on one last thing. This is the latest thing that I've been working on, and I'm still working in on right now. So if you played a Zelda game, you already know there's always the bomb mechanic, and one of the most important things that you can use the bombs for is opening secret areas or secret doors where you can find upgrades or rupees, or even sometimes this is used in dungeons, and it's very important in dungeons. So I'm finally adding that mechanic. This is a little example of how it works. Right now I've only added the animation of how it looks when you detonate a bomb, and the door opens, but I still need to add the actual door system that will take you to another area after opening it. Definitely for the next devlog I will have more news about this. Hopefully I will even finish working on this later this week or next week, so stay tuned for that. And that's all for this month's devlog. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel, and please leave a comment with any suggestions on what to improve or overall ideas that you'd like to see on the channel or even in the game. Also, shoutouts to Evil Chan, Janet Davies, and Alex Blaise, who supported me on Patreon at the supporter tier or higher. You guys are awesome. This wouldn't be possible without you. And if you want to appear on the YouTube video, or you want to get exclusive behind the scenes and access to videos like this, please go to patreon.com/wallgallen and support me. Every little bit of support is greatly appreciated. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you really enjoy these kind of videos, and I'll see you on the next one.